We bring in Florida Congressman Greg Steube. He did win his election. He joins us now. Congressman, when you heard this news, what was your reaction?
Well, it's obviously surprising, but not surprising given the fact that he has so many people around him. But there's so many parameters that the White House puts in place. I was with the president a couple of weeks ago in Jupiter for an executive order signing. He was completely kept from the public. He was kept from all of us. Even if you were backstage, he didn't touch anybody. He didn't shake anybody's hands. Everybody that works for him was wearing masks. But inevitably, just like 7 million Americans have tested positive, and there's probably millions of us that haven't been tested that have had it. We've had a number of members of Congress that have tested positive. And so I wish him well. I hope that he continues to do well healthy. And I hope he tries to do things remotely as much as possible. He was supposed to be in Florida today for a rally in the Sanford airport. I hope that they could try to do his rallies as long as he's feeling well, just like this, do it remotely. I've done many events in Florida right here from Washington remotely through Zoom or through Skype. And maybe he's able to continue to do his job effectively and campaign effectively as long as he's not having any symptoms.
I know that it's early. It's 5:38 in the morning here on the East Coast, but I know that a lot of people have been woken up by this news in the middle of the night, particularly a lot of people in Washington. What are you getting as to the feel of things and what people are going to be waking up to this morning? How are people in Washington feeling right now?
Well, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of talk now about whether the Democrats, because they were already talking about it after the last debate, are going to cancel the next debates because he's tested positive. You mentioned it, if the vice president's going to be tested, which I'm sure he has, and whether that debate's going to go forward. So I think it's more of a bunch of events that have been previously scheduled and whether they're going to go forward or not. But I heard you talking about, the Supreme Court nominee and all of that. Look, she can do just like Comey appeared remotely in the judiciary hearing. If for some reason she tests positive or senators are concerned about the fact that she was with the president on Saturday, she can appear in the judiciary hearing just like Comey did for her nomination process via remote. And that process can move forward. So I would highly encourage Lindsey Graham and the Senate to not change any of the dates and times that they have for all of those events and make sure that we get that appointment through the process before the election.
It's a very fascinating point, Congressman. I'm going to ask you sort of a psyche of the country question. I think I'd be a liar. I think Jillian would be a liar if we said there hasn't been some sort of coronavirus fatigue that has set in. We've been following the rules for so long. And then little by little, I think, at least from our perspective, at least from my perspective, you kind of let up a little bit here and there. What do you think this news is going to do to that coronavirus fatigue that, quite frankly, has set in all 50 states?
Well, it certainly set in my district in Florida. Florida's in phase 3. If you look at the numbers, we've gone way down on the curve. All the talk about flattening the curve early on, we're way at the bottom of that. The cases and hospitalizations are very, very low. Schools are open, and there's been reports even from left-wing media that there hasn't been outbreaks in the school systems that have opened. So people are tired of it. People are tired wearing the mask when they go out and being required to wear it. So I think you do have a lot of that, certainly in states that are a lot more open than other states. Look, we're all going to get, just like we all get the flu and we all get the cold, I'm sure we're all have been susceptible to this at some point or another. I know I have. I travel in 4 different airplanes every week to come up to Washington. So it's going to be out there as long as we are taking precautions. As you heard Mark Green earlier say, the mortality rate's only at 0.6%. I think as we see more people that didn't know they had it because they were asymptomatic, as we see more of those studies, I bet that mortality rate goes much less down to something like the flu or the cold.
But if I can be real with you for a second, as much as I do and as much as Todd does sitting here, once people start to wake up and hear this news, and some people already, you're going to see a lot of criticism coming in for various things, for the rallies, for, the supporters at the rallies being so close together, not wearing the masks, for the president, as much as he is traveling. You're going to see a lot of that criticism. So my question is, what happens when people start to wake up and that criticism starts to take hold? Where do you think this goes in the next 24 hours?
Oh, well, you're absolutely right. I mean, just look at Twitter right now, what some of these folks are saying about the president. What's interesting is there was an op-ed article in one of my local newspapers talking about, and this was months ago, about the president getting COVID and then the vice president getting COVID and the left cheering that they would get COVID and may get sick. So you're absolutely going to see the left and CNN and MSNBC criticizing the rallies, criticizing the fact that he's out and about, criticizing the fact that not every single time you see him on camera, he's wearing a mask. But the CDC recommends that you only have to wear a mask if you can't socially distance indoors. So it's not required that you wear a mask everywhere. But I can only imagine that we're going to see, it's early today, and you're going to see all day today the criticism mount from the rallies and the different events that he's had. But I'll tell you, I've attended some of those events with the president. The public is kept separate from him. All of his people are tested that are around him. I was actually never even physically able to get close enough to him other than having a conversation from a long distance. All of his people were wearing masks. So they take very, very strong precautions to try to prevent the spread of COVID-19. You saw the clip of Hope Hicks wearing a mask briefing him. So obviously they weren't ignoring all the different guidance that the CDC has put out all this time.
Great insight, Congressman Steube. Thank you very much for waking up early and for joining us. It's going to be a long day. I appreciate it.
You bet.